Just how trustworthy are clinical trials?
One in particular is being questioned by thousands of women across the country. Essure permanent birth control.
That's right. ABC 15's investigator Lauren Gilger has been reporting on the issues with this device for more than a year now. She joins us now live. Lauren?
Well, Stephanie, we sat down with a Valley mother of 3 who took part in the original clinical trial. She says the trials left her in constant pain.
Every single day I have bloating.
15 years ago,
Every single day I have pain.
Kimberly Lira
I just don't feel normal.
had Essure implanted.
I don't feel the person I used to be.
She was a patient in the original clinical trial to get the device approved by the FDA. The Essure device consists of metal coils placed inside the fallopian tubes to block conception permanently.
They told me that it was just a really easy procedure, and just a few minutes is all it took.
Almost immediately after the procedure, Kimberly says she was in pain.
Day 3, right after the surgery, I wanted it out already.
Women describe extreme bloating, skin rashes, and headaches. X-rays showed the coils perforating women's fallopian tubes and other organs.
When I look through them,
Kimberly recently got all of her medical records from the trial.
the stress that it gives me to look through those is crazy. It makes me very emotional.
In addition to numerous complaints she made about her health, Kimberly noticed some questionable notations. When she reported severe menstrual cramping, the word severe was crossed out. Excessive menstrual bleeding was categorized as unlikely related to the device. And even though Kimberly reported severe and unusual pain, researchers wrote her comfort level was excellent.
I consider that falsifying my documents completely.
Kimberly's records also show she asked researchers to remove the device.
I was crying. I told them I wanted them taken out, and they told me that there was no reversal.
But when Conceptus, the original manufacturer of the device, got approval from the FDA for Essure, they reported there were no requests for removal of the device.
I think it undermines what I'm going through. It undermines the pain that I feel.
Dr. Diana Zuckerman runs an FDA watchdog in Washington, D.C. She says clinical trials are often flawed, especially when it comes to medical devices like Essure, because there are fewer legal standards.
The data make it look like a product is safer or more effective than it really is.
The clinical trial started with 745 women, but we found only 567 of them completed it. Kimberly wasn't one of them.
I think I became a thorn in their side, and they didn't care, so I wasn't giving them the happy results they wanted.
Kimberly questions the study and questions the FDA.
I'm really scared. I'm 38, and to fix something I did at 23 is to have a hysterectomy is horrible.
She doesn't want anyone else to experience what she lives with every day.
Do I want to be pain-free? I would love it. I would love to know who I could be.
The FDA told us today Essure underwent its most stringent approval process. Dr. Jay Cooper, who handled Kimberly's case, testified in front of the FDA to help get the device approved. He has since died. Essure was sold to Bayer a few years ago. They wouldn't comment on Kimberly's case, but told us numerous trials have shown consistent results for Essure. I'm investigator Lauren Gilger, ABC 15 News.
I have no idea how safe this medical device is, and neither does anybody else.
The ABC 15 investigators exposed federal documents about the controversial birth control Essure, never before made public until now.
ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger uncovered the FDA's own internal inspections. And Lauren, what did you learn?
Well, that's right. We've covered this story for a year, and the FDA has maintained all along the device is safe and they have the research to back it up. But many of the documents we obtained seem to show the opposite.
Patients are saying bad things are happening to them.
It's right here in these records.
It's a fatal flaw.
Straight from the Food and Drug Administration.
Patients are being harmed.
Where's this one go?
Like Katie Reeder.
I felt like my insides were being shredded.
This mother of 3 says she was in pain for 2 years after having Essure implanted.
I go from being depressed to sad to angry, and And I mean, it's not just with the doctors, it's with my family. You know, I can't be the mom I need to be.
Essure consists of metal coils placed inside the fallopian tubes, blocking conception. The ABC 15 investigators uncovered documents from the FDA that showed they knew patients were being harmed by the device more than a decade ago, and that the company that originally manufactured Essure, Conceptus, was cited for failing to report all of the complaints fast enough, which meant they were violating the law.
It's clear that the FDA inspectors found that the company wasn't being forthcoming in reporting problems that patients were having.
The documents are called Form 483s, reports from the FDA's own inspections. In this one from 2010, the investigator found the company received 168 complaints of perforation, where the device cut through internal organs. But the company only told the FDA about 22 of them. Those numbers have Dr. Diana Zuckerman with the Center for Health Research in Washington questioning the original clinical trials.
When you see data that looks so great, and you talk to women who've used the product whose experience is completely different, you have to question whether the studies were really done appropriately.
When we've asked the FDA about Essure complaints, they told us follow-up studies to the clinical trials have been completed.
They also recently sent us these records showing what the manufacturer had to say about each of the allegations. In some cases, Conceptus agreed to make changes, but it's hard to say what they are because most of the document is blacked out. In other cases, the manufacturer blamed the doctors for the problems women had.
Women like the 10,000 who have united on the Essure Problems Facebook page to speak out about their negative experiences with the medical device.
With Essure, they tell you, no, there's not any side effects, there's no problems. And I just feel that that's unacceptable. You have all these women going through this and reporting this to you, and you're still going to dismiss it?
In some cases, the Facebook complaints mirror the FDA's own inspections. Women reported bleeding, pain. One patient was taken to the hospital for surgery. There were multiple instances reported where the device migrated out of the fallopian tubes. Many women needed hysterectomies to remove the device.
They said they'll probably keep me about 23 hours.
So did Katie. She had a hysterectomy shortly after our interview.
I'm 30 years old and I wake up feeling like I'm 80.
Do you feel like the system has failed you?
Absolutely. I have no faith in anything.
Bayer, which now owns Essure, sent us a statement saying that since they bought the company, they have not received any 483 forms from the FDA. They also said most of the side effects are known and are included in the information given to patients. And as for those blacked out records, we appealed that issue with the FDA, and we'll let you know if they give us any more information.
Growing in numbers from a few hundred women to more than 8,000.
Yeah, they're actually banding together to speak out against what they call a harmful and deadly form of birth control.
ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger joins us now with the latest on this. Lauren?
We followed their stories from Phoenix all the way to Washington. Now, one woman's story will be heard in a court of law. She filed the first lawsuit against this government-approved medical device, claiming it should have never been approved in the first place.
Bayer, one of the world's largest healthcare companies, is now formally accused of intentionally misleading women implanted with Essure permanent birth control. In the first lawsuit involving the controversial medical device in a complaint filed in civil court in Philadelphia, lawyers claim Essure should never have been marketed or sold, that the company breached its warranty to patients and failed to properly train the doctor who implanted their plaintiff with the Essure device.
The procedure can be performed in a doctor's office in minutes.
In the procedure, there are two metal coils inserted into the fallopian tubes to block conception. But in this case, the lawsuit describes 3, not 2 coils left inside of her. They migrated out of her fallopian tubes, leading to 5 hospitalizations and a hysterectomy, removing her reproductive organs.
I had a partial hysterectomy in July.
It's a story we've heard before.
They took everything out except my ovaries.
From women in the Valley who spoke out against Essure last fall. Now there are more than 8,000 of them nationwide. Bayer, which bought Conceptus, the original manufacturer of the device, had no comment on the lawsuit. A spokeswoman told ABC 15 Bayer has read the complaints online and don't think they are representative of the hundreds of thousands of women who have benefited from the device.
The company got pre-market approval for studies that could clearly be questioned.
Famed activist Erin Brockovich helps lead their cause. From the beginning, she's questioned the pre-market approval the device received from the FDA.
Normally, FDA approval like this would shield a company from any product liability, but this lawsuit claims that Essure's manufacturer basically duped the FDA, saying the company broke the conditions for that approval.
They claim the manufacturer actively concealed negative reports, and they're asking for $50,000 for both compensation and delay damages.
Do you think Essure should be on the market?
In my opinion, absolutely not.
The FDA has told us for months that they reviewed the complaints and the clinical trial literature and found nothing wrong. They had no comment on this story, but we won't stop asking questions. I'm investigator Lauren Gilger, ABC 15 News.
Debilitating pain, infections, and even a death. That's some of what thousands of women say happened after getting an FDA-approved birth control device. Now, their voices are being heard at the highest level. ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger followed the story for almost a year. Today, she takes you to Washington, D.C., where some of those women spoke at a congressional hearing.
I'm not a public speaker.
On Capitol Hill.
I'm not an activist.
In front of congressional aides and officials.
I'm just a person that was hurt by a medical device.
Kim Hudak told her story.
Within the first year, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, connective tissue disorder, chronic fatigue, and restless leg syndrome.
The cause, according to Hudak, it was Essure birth control, a permanent contraceptive she had implanted in her fallopian tubes in 2000 as part of the device's clinical trial.
I had no previous medical issues.
Like more than 8,000 women who united on the Essure Problems Facebook page, Hudak says her health quickly declined after she got the Essure coils implanted, and she still suffers today.
I don't know some days when I go to bed if I'm going to wake up the next morning because some days I'm really, really sick.
Today, she's raising those issues with the people who could change it at a Senate briefing about reforming the Food and Drug Administration.
The patients are reporting problems to the company, and the company isn't reporting them to the FDA.
It's what Diana Zuckerman calls a huge problem with approving clinical trials. Kim says she's fighting for all women experiencing debilitating symptoms.
I don't want to see these women continue to get sicker. I want to see them get help before it's too late to undo the damage that's been done.
After our initial reporting last fall, the manufacturer added warnings to the label, and the FDA reviewed all of the complaints made. If you've had an issue with a medical device, go to our website, abc15.com/investigators, to find out how you can report it to the FDA.
Charges. All new at 6, thousands of women from all across the country take their fight to Washington, upset over a birth control they say is deadly. It's a story ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger has been reporting on for more than a year, and tonight she shows us how their attempt to take action was cut short.
We're from all over the country.
These 7 women have never met in person before, only online.
California, Ohio, and Mississippi.
They're just a few of almost 14,000 who post medical issues they say are associated with Essure birth control on this Facebook page. Essure consists of metal coils placed inside the fallopian tubes to block conception permanently. It was that group that helped raise money to send these women to Washington.
They donated and helped pay for our planes and our trains and our hotels.
Along with a doctor and their attorneys, they banded together and met with political leaders. They had a full schedule.
An 11 o'clock meeting with Senate, 12 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, and a 4 o'clock.
They were all very attentive.
Their hope is to have the device recalled and for doctors to learn how to properly treat patients who think the device is harming them. The ABC 15 investigators uncovered hundreds of reports filed with the Food and Drug Administration claiming pain and injury from the device. The more severe included coils cutting through organs, miscarriages, and hysterectomies. In one report, a woman died.
I would like to see an investigation into the clinical trials.
So of all the meetings scheduled in the nation's capital, the most crucial was with the FDA. They say they have been trying to meet with them for a year.
We have got to make sure the right people see the evidence.
But just before flying to Washington, the women said the FDA canceled their meeting.
We've been doing the FDA's job for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
It's time they stepped in.
The group said the meeting was canceled after asking if ABC 15 could attend. That's not what the FDA told us. In an email, they wrote the meeting was proposed but never confirmed.
I think it was a little absurd that they couldn't make time for us.
The group is is not discouraged, though. They still met with political leaders who say they want to help.
Hopefully something good comes of all of this.
5 women are suing, claiming the device should have never been approved in the first place. Bayer bought Conceptus, the original manufacturer of the device, and they have no comment on the lawsuit.
A new development in the fight for thousands of women who want Essure permanent birth control off the market.
ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger has been following this story from the very beginning, and she's here now with an exclusive update. Lauren?
Well, the FDA says their Office of Compliance will investigate complaints about the controversial birth control device. We obtained this letter sent to the lawyers spearheading the effort to recall Essure. Now, more than 2,000 women have signed a petition asking the FDA to remove Essure from the market. Our series of investigations raised serious questions about the FDA's approval of the device. Many of the same issues are addressed in the petition. It claims the original manufacturer of the device perpetrated fraud during the clinical trials by physically crossing out and altering medical records, violated the terms of their pre-market approval, and violated federal laws in the manufacturing and marketing of Essure. Bayer Healthcare recently bought the device. They told us they stand behind the safety and efficacy of Essure and will respond to any questions the FDA has related to the petition. We'll keep you up to date as this story unfolds.
Women fighting for a controversial birth control device to be taken off the market finally heard by federal regulators today.
More than 15,000 women are right now in that Essure Problems Facebook group. ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger has been reporting on this issue, actually when it was just a few hundred women in that group. And Lauren, this is a big step for this movement.
It really is. A few representatives of that group met with 36 representatives from the Food and Drug Administration, including the head of the Center for Devices and the FDA commissioner. But just a few months ago, when the group went to the Capitol, they did not get that meeting with the FDA.
We've been doing the FDA's job for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
It's time they stepped in.
Now they're saying leaders at the FDA heard their stories and promised to continue the conversation. The ABC 15 investigators have uncovered more than 4,500 reports filed with the Food and Drug Administration claiming pain and injury from the device, including the device cutting through organs, miscarriages, and hysterectomies. The women who represented the group in Washington today told me the FDA reps were concerned about what they heard, particularly about issues surrounding the clinical trials. Bayer, the current manufacturer of Essure, said the FDA meets with interested parties routinely, and when it comes to Essure, they'll continue to work closely with the government. I'm investigator Lauren Gilger, ABC 15 News.